Wow, there we go. Good afternoon. Pumping up today. Look at this. Wow. Gapped up 1% above above previous day's high basically. And then we got this news that some type of positive news, even though it's not really definitive. We got some news that Iran and the US both want the war to end, and they both want to come to some conclusion, and there's some deal on the table. And the thing is that it's not 100% definitive. There's no there's no real public facing negotiations that we know of, or anything that will signal any um, I forget what they call it, but any basically any them working together to come to a conclusion basically. So there's really um, no developments, but we are getting a massive move up today, which is the first in about 2 weeks. So we got this big, what is it, one over like 1.5% maybe move right here. Can't really measure it on here, but got a totally huge move. And it looks pretty constructive, looks pretty bullish if we look on a bigger time frame. We hit that 100 MA and bounce off of, or 100 SMA perfectly and bounce off on this 3-day chart. So there is the problem is that we do have this previous resistance here around 650, and these previous areas here from not only from last year's lows, these last lows from October and November, but from just the past few weeks we've been making this move down. So we're coming into some resistance right around here at 650 and 650 range. Really 650 660 is going to be a resistance range, but this we filled this gap and kind of almost making, almost, if this was an actual gap, this would be like an island gap here. But it's interesting how we just got this cross a couple of days ago, and then we're getting the first decent bounce. This is not as significant as you would want to see. We would want to see a candle all the way up, even higher up here above previous levels of support. in order to confirm that this is a more significant or lasting. For now, it's not. I wouldn't say it's lasting unless we're really above this area here, and at least inside this range. But even then, this is a good spot to just reject again and consolidate. But it's not like we're going to just V-shape right back up here necessarily until we have more definitive news that the VIX is actually selling off from this 31 level from yesterday, inside bar. Now we're going lower, back down to 26. Pretty good. Not a bad signal. We didn't end up getting a bigger move there yet. If we were to, we'd need to confirm above. Really need, if this was, if we were to get more volatility, then the VIX would have to close candles above here, but the VIX has been trending up pretty much for a couple months since the beginning of the year. This is the year to date, so it's pretty much just a slow trend up. So there is room for us to possibly come down if this uncertainty is starting to unwind. All right, so not a bad move overnight and not a bad move intraday, but see, that's the so I'm just going to be looking for possible continuation here. If we were to continue towards 650, that resistance level around 650, then I would look for possibly a scalp. But the way I'm going to manage my risk today, since we have a lot of volatility, I mean, we closed down here, we opened right here, or we closed here and then we opened here. And so with this gap plus this big move intraday, this is during lunch, I'm going to be looking to trade a small position similar to how I was thinking of yesterday, but I ended up taking a $50 contract instead of a $22 contract yesterday. Today I'm looking to probably just trade no more than a $30 contract and just keep it light during the power hour. Well, we have a whole hour until then, so it depends. But that would be ideal for me to keep it light to manage my risk more effectively and easily, is to just take a smaller position with the volatility presenting more of an opportunity to capture that in the power hour where the contracts are more volatile. So it's worth just sizing down as much as possible. For me, that's all the way down, pretty much $30 or less is what I'm looking for. Really like the way this is setting up, but I'm gonna have to go through the timeline and see what's really happening, because I don't know, I was just seeing some of these developments during lunch and I was posting a couple random things about it, some memes and stuff, and then all of a sudden we get this big move up. I don't know how big of a move is this? 0.5% and then a 0.3. I mean, it was like a full 1% move, full 1% move up. The thing is, though, is that oil prices had fallen 5% after the Iranian president had said that they're ready to end the war with some guarantees, which is still the uncertainty that's lasting. We don't have any idea what the guarantees are, and they're kind of uh, making it seem like the trade is less important, and so, and who knows, maybe it's maybe they have something going on that we don't really know about, and maybe it's not all bad, but at least the market is kind of feeling like that's the case here. And earlier this morning, the jobs had open. U.S. JOLTS job openings came in low and slightly below expectations, which was 6.9 million. It came in at 6.88, 6.92 versus 6.88, which is the actual. So the job market's still slightly weak, and the job market's expected to continue to be weak until further notice. We had literally this morning, Oracle is reportedly cutting 20 to 30,000 of its workforce, which is around 20%. And that's similar to how Meta was reportedly looking to possibly hire or lay off 20% of its workforce. And I don't know, someone calculated that it would have an impact of like a plus 5% on the EPS, which is interesting. But now there's another company, so between Meta and Oracle, they're both looking to lay off 20% of their workforce, which is very significant. Should be noted. And even Warren Buffett had said that this sell-off that we're seeing is basically nothing, which is a good perspective to put in. Because like I was looking at the Meta chart, everyone was worried about the Meta chart being down like 10%, but it's really still in a great spot. There's really nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with Meta. It's a great buy. If you look at the monthly chart, actually, look at how extended it is from this low. Obviously, that's 2022 low, but we're still above the April highs from last year, which is not the case with SPY. With the overall market, well, I suppose that's not necessarily the case. So the November low, though, we are below here, but in April, and SPY was way lower in April. So that is kind of interesting that this is that April and this is the November low. So this is much tighter. Meta's been consolidating because their business has been changing, and they're not as easily profitable, and they don't generate as much cash like some of these other companies like Meta or like Microsoft and Google. Because if you think about it, Meta, they're mostly just a social platform. Like they do have their AI and they have their ads business. It's just probably the biggest part of their business is just Meta ads. They have Facebook, they have Instagram, they have Threads, but those are just social media platforms. Then they have their virtual reality kind of thing, the metaverse, which is kind of has a little bit to do with AI, but it's kind of way early, and they're losing money on that. And I'm sure that even losing money with AI stuff currently, and they're trying to develop that. Does Meta even have? Google has Gemini. I don't know if Meta even has like a proprietary model. Maybe I'm tripping. I know they have like the Llama. I know they have like an open source Llama model or whatever, but do they have like a regular chatbot at Meta? I think they do. They have a Meta AI. Yeah, they have Meta AI, but nobody talks. I've never heard of that. Nobody talks about Meta AI. What even is that? So I don't know. And Bitcoin below the April low from last year. Bitcoin's pretty much consolidating as well if you really look at it. Kind of a head and shoulders, but the further you zoom out, it's really consolidating above previous all-time high. Let's see what SPY's doing here. 648.50 is like a clear spot. Anything above 648.50 looks for continuation. We almost got to 650 on this candle though. 649.50. Well, we could get continuation, make a new high day. That would be ideal based on just this consolidation and then this big breakout and another consolidation here. It's a pretty clean flag though if you were to mark it out. It's kind of a nice perfect triangle actually. Not gonna lie, it's pretty solid. 45 minutes into lunch, until lunch, but it's hard to say with the uncertainty still being on the table. It's not like everything's just clear and ready to go. Jim Cramer predicted that oil prices topped yesterday. Maybe he's right for the first time. Maybe he's actually right. Who knows? The SPX is still on its 8th consecutive close below the 200-day moving average. The longest streak since last year in April. 200-day moving average. The VIX today, yeah, we got that big red candle down, all the way down to 26. I want to see something real quick. The ES and the SPY. The SPY is still off of this low here. 652, 650. The ES has already filled that. 65.50, 65.30. One-day chart, 3-day chart. Clean bounce right there at the 100 SMA. Look at that. Everywhere. ES especially though. And the Qs, it's interesting. The Qs looks kind of healthy here though. This looks pretty decent. Just this 3-day chart looks, these look pretty decent, honestly. Wouldn't be a bad spot to bounce, I will say. It's not a bad spot to bounce if it were to bounce here, and that's what were to happen. Bitcoin's stuck in this daily range here in this bear flaggy thing, whatever it is. All right, so SPY 648 and 646. So under 646, there is possible downside, but I wouldn't really count on it until later in the week, because right now we're getting a clear bullish move on the day. There's no reason to go against that. Ideally above 648.50, and we have room back to new highs and 650, 652. Don't know if that would happen in power hour. It's kind of unlikely that we'd make it all the way up here, given we're already up 2.49%. That's crazy. 2.49%. Okay. VIX down 14% today. Well, just a good day. One good sign out of the past multiple weeks. See, it's getting pretty tight. It's kind of a flag. See how it, if it breaks out here, either direction, ideally to the upside. Look for a breakout and retest, and look for an entry with a decent risk to reward that's slightly out the money, that is cheap enough to for me to hold on to for a long enough time to see the move through into power hour and in power hour. And the other thing too is that today is the last day of the month, so end of month rebalancing and possibly risk off or risk on, depending on if this is good news, then maybe it's extra risk on at the end of the month, or maybe they need to cut their losses because they need to go and pay taxes next week. I gotta actually pay my taxes next week. I gotta file because I've been kind of waiting. It's really annoying. I use TurboTax and they charge like 150 bucks just to use it. It's like 150 bucks to talk to an expert, which is like just to file your taxes, or someone who doesn't even make that much money. But I work a regular job, 9 to 5, minimum wage. I just do this so that I've been doing this for like 6 years, and I'm looking to transition towards building a good enough portfolio and enough discipline and consistency to negate my need to work 8 hours a day for someone else on things that I don't even care about. And at least with this, I can learn and I can be tapped in and fully absorb a lot of things that's happening and grow my skills, and then develop a really high quality portfolio over time of investments, not just trading but specifically investments, and then even looking to invest in anything and everything that matters to me, public companies, private companies. I have a couple private investments. One of them, the only one I'll say is specifically, is Aries, because Aries is a trading platform, a brokerage that from 2022 they started. They're still working on it. It's supposed to be debuting this year with their platform. It's supposed to be like the best platform, and I truly believe in it. And I put some money into it at the very beginning, and it's pretty much just with a bet like that, you're expecting the company to go from like a $25 million valuation to hundreds of millions or billions, and that would be what I'm looking for that. But ideally, I want to trade on that platform, and I want to contribute to it. So I really like what they do and what they're trying to develop with all the optionality on their platform. They have like an infinite canvas, kind of like Robinhood, but I really think that they have the opportunity to mix the Robinhood and the trading view and the Thinkorswim together, or even the E-Trade and the Tasty Trade for options traders and professionals, and to mix them all together into the best platform that's customizable, user-friendly, and obviously it's always going to be somewhat complex because we're dealing with a lot of different numbers and complex instruments and different things like that. But I think there's a big opportunity there. So I really like the company Aries financial. Let's see, are we gonna pump? We're gonna pump it up. Come on now. Pump it up. Power hour, pump it up. It's either like an hour power hour pump it up or end of month dumping for taxes. Let's see, what will we do? Power hour pump it up or end of month dump for to pay taxes. The best performing stock in my portfolio today is actually Aklo, which is up 8%. It's probably nothing, but they're not really a profitable company yet, but they did just announce a new expanded partnership a couple days ago to build some more nuclear reactor, mini micro nuclear reactors or whatever. And my phone is just like so slow. 647.50 right in the middle. Let's see. Nvidia's up 5%, Google's up 5%, Apple's up 2.6, Tesla's up 4.5, Rivian's up 4%. Wow. Everything's up pretty good. Even gold and silver up 3 and 7% respectively. This flag is getting real tight. See if it can break out by lunch. Get another leg. At least something. It's hard to say. 30 minutes until lunch. 30 minutes until power hour. I mean, it's not lunch. All right, let's see. Pretty good amount of consolidation here above the 21 MA and the 9. Very extended above the VWAP. Should be solid. I would honestly like, this looks so clean that I want to draw a line here and here, but it's not really necessary. It just looks really nice. I'm not gonna lie. It's almost a flat top, but it's not quite. It's more of a I forget what they call it, but not necessarily a flat top wedge, more of just a flag. It's kind of a perfect flag. It's just crazy. This looks algorithmic for a breakout, retest, and then up. That's what I'm looking for. See if it happens. That's just my intuition, what I think would be the best opportunity. The good thing is it's only Tuesday, so there's still room in the week for the market to move. It's not like it's, well, it is, the thing is it's Tuesday, but it's the end of the month, which is kind of weird, but it's kind of like Friday on Tuesday in a way. You know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. You know, pump it up. Do you pump it up? Up, up, up. You know, you got to pump it up. Last day of the month. That means there's opportunity. My mind, honestly. It's an opportunity for I mean, we got this crazy move already. It's like, what is happening? We got a gap up 1% sideways all the way through lunch. And then at the end of lunch, we get this news that Iran finally wants to end the war as well as the US, but they're looking for some type of guarantee, some type of further negotiations that we don't know about. So there is uncertainty still in the air, is what I'm trying to say. So just because we're moving up, we may get that. If we get that close at high day, it may be more significant. Like I was saying recently, that if we do get that gap up and close at high day with a big green candle on the daily chart, it could be a high signal of a potential bottom. But it's not guaranteed, especially since the news that we have is not so definitive. So it's kind of difficult. I could be right. All right. Gonna have to pull up the option chain here in a minute. 648, not too bad. Over 648.50. Let me pull up the options chain. See what it looks like. We're getting closer here. 648.50. That's that level. Want to see a little bit of breakout. Retest would be ideal. Just don't know how much volume there is here. I really need to put the volume on the chart. I can't see it. It's kind of funny. I can see it on the 1 minute chart though, which is not there, but yeah. All right. The volatility is a bit higher today, so contracts are a little bit more expensive. Like right here, 651 call. 651 is 34 cents, which is quite a bit. 652 is 20 cents. 646 put is 33 cents. But looks like it wants to go higher though. Not bad. Let's see some momentum. 20 minutes until lunch, or 20 minutes. I keep saying lunch because I'm in Pacific time, but 20 minutes until power hour. Oh man, it's end of month, end of quarter. Just me and the 5 minute chart. Lock in, lock in. See, they'll tell you how many jobs are added, like 4 or 5 million, but they won't tell you how many jobs are subtracted. They, obviously they have the job openings, but I think the data is just so skewed that you can't see that well. You can't see that well how some of these companies are laying off 20% of their workforce, or they're doing it in like they're probably doing it low key, like undercover. They're not trying to. They probably got a whole bunch of methods. Just saying. All right, we're over 648.55. See if it closes above. That would signify possible continuation right here. Okay. All right, let's see. We're going to confirm breakout here. $6.50 calls, there's 48 cents. 6.51 calls with 28 cents. That's what I'm looking at. Ideally, what I want to do is take a position no more than 30 bucks during power hour would be ideal for me, I think, today. We'll see. This price action right now on the 1 minute is going nowhere. Just bouncing on the 21, kind of right near this previous high. We need a breakthrough. $48.73. All right. Looks pretty solid. The contracts are going to be hard here, though, for me. Got to give them a little bit more time. Just barely breaking out. We need to see confirmation. Still not really much volume behind this break. Just a little bit of a breakout here. Really no volume yet. Apparently negotiations are going well. They're trying to keep the market positive. All right. Got somewhat of a close above the 648.50 there. So let's see if it continues. Look for a little bit of a move and then a pullback. And I'd look to possibly enter there. But 5 minutes until power hour. It's not too bad. It's always a dead cat bounce until we hit new all-time highs. Apparently. No, but ideally, like what we would see, you know, like on SPY, this big green gap up, big green candle, close at high day. It looks similar to this, but this was a gap down, so this is not the same. I mean, this is more strong in a sense because it's an outside bar, but a move like this where we gap up and we go up higher and we close at the high day, like up here, this is a good signal. But if you want a better signal, you go out to the 3-day chart. You want to see the same thing, and we'd be looking above 654 for that. And then even further at the weekly, we would want to see that kind of a candle. So we got sweep. And if this became an outside bar weekly candle, which is not going to, but if the next weekly candle, what happened? Is it still working? Okay, I'm back. Am I back? Am I back? Let's see. Okay, am I back? Am I back? What happened? My program just died when I was going through those charts right there. That's weird. Is it working? I don't know what happened. I think my program just crashed, which is pretty dumb. Anyways, so this is working, right? Anyways, I think we're back. So what I'm trying to say though is that you want to see that gap up, close it all time, close it at the high of the week or high of the day on this candle. So the same thing you want to see on the daily candle, gap up, close at high day, and then a continuation is the same thing, even more significant on the weekly chart. But on this weekly chart, we're probably going to end up closing inside. But if somehow we did get up to 662, 663, get above 660 and close, then this would be a pretty high probability that it is a bottom. But we still don't have the full plan on the negotiations and with the full plan to reopen and the full plan to work together to resolve this issue in the conflict. And that's what we really need. We got somewhat of a nudge and a hint that that's what's happening, but we don't have the certainty, we don't have the details yet. So if we do get the details by the end of the week, then the market may continue this, and then we may see that move, which would be quite interesting. Two minutes until power hour. Getting closer to 649. Momentum's not really there yet. Still don't see any volume. All right, so that's good. $649 break. 650 coming up. Kind of a weak rally right here. We need momentum. I don't see it yet. Nothing. It is now power hour. I think there's a lot of money on the sidelines that really wants to be in the market, and that's why we're not seeing much of a dip. The other thing too is that it's the end of the month, end of the quarter. So if we don't see a dip, then I mean, it's probably more risk on than risk off. And maybe that's just because of the news we got today. And so it's just a little bit of a slight change in sentiment that we're seeing today, and that's pretty clear on the chart. But the chart is the chart is not necessarily the truth or facts at the moment. It is in hindsight only. That's why it's important to understand what's really driving the chart. The chart is great though, and you really can succeed with only the chart. But I think it's slightly more effective. And I could be wrong, but I do think that it's more useful for your time to be less of a technical trader. I mean, you can be a technical trader and then become less of a technical trader. And what I mean by that is you continue to use all the fundamentals and the strategies and systematic processes that you use as a technical trader with charts and how you look at the chart and what it tells you. But you use that more in conjunction and combination with what's happening and when you're reading the room in terms of what's happening with the headlines, with the market, with the news, with the developments, with financials. All these type of things are are an additional abstraction layer above the chart that is not visible. The chart is visible, but everything else is separated, it's scattered. And so to be able to have it all together and to be able to um, basically to inference enough to make determinations on why the market moves, not just where it's moving, because the chart will tell you where it's going. But what the other part that I'm talking about in terms of reading the room will tell you why it's happening. But there's something there to think about, possibly for me to write about, the why being outside of the what being the chart itself, which dictates just is like the graph, but beneath the graph is the transactions and the sentiment and the data and the fundamentals and everything else that's really important. You can understand those things and not know the chart and then fail. So the fundamentals of technical analysis on the chart is number one priority and it's important. But once you can get past that and you have that somewhat deep-seated or integrated into your psychology and your behavior, specifically your behavior more than psychology, because your behavior matters more than anything else, more than psychology or anything else, any strategy, then you can develop higher probabilistic analysis, and I think it's something pretty interesting, honestly, to think about. There's a lot of weird dichotomies or paradoxes or opposing forces that meet right in the middle with not just in life but in trading, especially because it's pretty direct form of making a transaction in and out or buying a stock for a purpose or for no reason, and it's pretty much random at the end of the day. The only thing that's not random is what you see on the chart, the actual chart from in the left to the left. But to the right is where the other side is. So that's the difference. When you look to the left of the chart and you see the candles that have already been produced, which is certainty, finality, truth in that time, that period in time. And then to the right is the opposite, the unknown, the need to read the room or the need to wait for confirmation, whether you use the chart only or not. It all varies, but it could all be an April Fool's joke that gets exposed tomorrow, and then that's crazy. April Fool's joke. No, nobody thought about that. No, no, no. This is not an April Fool's joke, okay? I didn't start the stream with the Pump It Up song remix for no reason. We're gonna pump. We gotta pump. We already pumped, but I see I see the trend. I'm gonna let the trend speak. at least on the screen here, the 5 minute chart, this is a miniature trend break, but we're just in back into another range. It's just a range bound market, so any trend is just within another trend within a trend, and then the real trend is up, but you have to zoom out, you have to be patient enough. Warren Buffett says he sold Apple too soon. That's what I'm saying. I'm predicting Apple to be at $300 and by July. I'm predicting that they're working on their AI and their proprietary models and all these things I was talking about yesterday. That's an interesting point, but it's easy to be bearish on Apple with everything else happening. So it's understandable for someone like Warren Buffett, where it's like there's a lot of other companies that are moving faster and Apple seemingly slowing down. And like if they're only focused on design, then how does that affect their profitability or bottom line? If they're focused mostly on design and less on the intelligence, the technologies, that's not what they're about. I mean, the iPhone was a unique technology that has, it's been replicated, but their real distinction is their design when it comes to Apple. But maybe that's going to bite them in at this point if they don't step on the gas in terms of getting people excited with improving Siri, improving a lot of different things, especially just mostly Siri and the artificial intelligence, which has been pretty terrible for a while. I can imagine, I don't really use Android, but I can imagine that using an Android with like Gemini on it or whatever it is would be pretty solid, and I'd have to test it out. I don't know. $649. 50 minutes until the close. Barely moving here. Ten-year anniversary of the Model 3 today, March 31st, 2016. Wow. That's pretty tough. I actually tweeted about the Model T. I tweeted when Model T. That's pretty funny. But I was actually thinking about something else, like a Model G or something. But the Model T is classic, and I'm surprised that Tesla being what they are and having the models S3, XY, I'm surprised that they haven't. I mean, I'm sure they've had some type of thought about coming up. I don't know, maybe the Model T name is trademarked and they can't use the Model T name, but they should use Model T and make like a new. I think there's just so much. There's a lot they could do there with that. Just that Model T concept, the vintage in the future together. something I'm really interested in. I think Tesla has an opportunity there. The Model T, when Model T, when Model T. Man, this market slow right here. I don't know. We may not get a real decent move here in the power hour. I don't know. It's kind of slow. $649.50. Okay. Getting a little bit higher volume on the 1 minute chart here. A little bit. Little bit. 651 calls, now 37 cents. That's actually much better. It was 50 cents earlier. Right? I think so. No, it's the same one. No, the 651 earlier was 33 cents, I think. Still around the same price. Almost at new high day, basically. We made a new high day right there, actually. $649.50. Oh. That 651 is already up to 50 cents. It's running right here. I don't know if we're going to get that pullback and then retest. It's kind of a weird chart. It's kind of hard to trade. It's kind of best for just like a lotto, taking a real cheap contract, but makes it hard for a trade here. I'm not going to lie, but we'll see. Maybe we do get a retest here. Take a cheap one. If we were to retest, I don't know what would it be. It would have to be like 649. Even 649 is a little bit elevated. It'd be 648.50. We kind of did that here, to be honest. Kind of already did that right here, to be honest. If you look, that's kind of what we just did. It's like a tiny, this isn't a breakout of the high day though. That's the thing. We're still inside the high day. We just broke the high day right here. So now if we get another retest here, might be worth a stab at a cheap contract for the breakout. Let's see. With this volatility, the only way I can really manage risk is, best way to manage risk is to trade small. And that really goes for anything, but especially in a situation like this. So let's see. 649. $649. We really need to get above 650 though. That's the thing. Like without getting above 650, it's kind of risky, I will say, on the 30-minute chart, the 1 hour. We have like a little bit of a high right there. The high is right at 649.77, 649.58. So we really need to get above that. I think we probably will, more than likely, but it's just kind of a weird entry. It's a big W on the 1 hour chart. Double bottom at 630-ish. End of month. That 650 level is pretty important here, actually. That's a real resistance level for us. So taking a long just below it might be might be pretty risky to do. There's only 40 minutes in power hour left. I would say on the 1 minute chart though, it is a bit of a breakout and retest. That's what it looks like here off the holding the 9 still. Held the 21 and then another break, new high day, holding the 9 EMA. So let's see if this does continue. If I want a late entry, it's going to be over 650 though. That's the thing. So if I want to go long here and take the late entry that I'm looking for, it's going to have to be over 650, which isn't ideal because the risk is the highest there. And the contracts will be already elevated a little bit. So let's see. What are they looking like? 652 is 22 cents, 21. 651 calls, 37 cents. Like this is like a bit of a late entry in terms of new high day. We did get somewhat of a confirmation with somewhat of a 1 minute retest here, which is not bad, but it's kind of an early entry in the fact that 650 is a real resistance level that on the bottom and the upside. We bounced there perfectly and we've rejected there just in the past week or so. So 650 does make for a real level that we need to be careful with in this situation. And that's the only thing that's holding me from taking an entry right here. I think it's 649.77. It's really 650. So looks pretty good on the one. New high day there. So ideally I want to take a contract less than 30 bucks. The 652 is at 23, so I might want to try to take it here before it gets there, so I don't end up not being able to take that, because even the 652 is a little bit out. It's like $2 out the money here. So let's see. I might enter the 652 call here for like 25 cents literally, which is very minimal risk. So if we do get a push here over 650, I'm probably going to enter the 652 call for about 25 cents. Try to get it before it hits 30 if that's the case, because I want to keep that low risk, below 30 bucks on the total position, and give myself room to catch a bit of a leg right here. The contract's at 20. It's just so cheap though. It's like, on one hand it makes me want to enter it, but at the other hand it makes me not want to enter it. It's just like a battle. But that's why I want to see the chart actually telling me that we're good here. Right now I'm not seeing it. Put a bit of a wick on the 1 minute there. 649.91. Gee. Even this 651 calls, well, still 37 cents. I'm gonna have to just keep the risk really light and lean into the trend here. But all right, so quarter end, this contract's just too cheap. It's not even barely at 20 cents here. 652 call. It's like, it's low-key cheap, super cheap. I'm like questioning if it's worth it. I mean, it's worth it risk-wise, but 651's 36 cents now. I might actually have to, if it gets closer to 30, but we're still not getting confirmation. It's going to be a tricky entry. Price action is kind of slowly curling up here a little bit, so we want to see momentum with volume. Right now it's not really much of that happening. 45 minutes, 35 minutes actually until the close. Think we're gonna break that 650? I don't know. I kind of do, given that it's the end of month, end of quarter. I feel like we may get some inflows, which would be ideal. If we don't, then I may take the small call, the cheap call, and then take a loss. But I do like the prospect of breaking 650 here into the end of the day, even though we're at the high day. See, back to the 9 EMA. See, maybe here we can get some confirmation here soon. Okay, like the 651 call is 23 cents here. I think it's worth the entry around here. I'm gonna go ahead and take the 651 call. It's kind of a not the best entry, but I'm taking it just because how cheap it is here. Filled at 24 cents, 651 call. This is not a late entry, which is what I would be looking for, but I want to keep it cheap, so I'm taking the entry on the pullback retest right here on the 1 minute. If it totally fails here, then my risk is like 24 bucks. The contract cost me 24 bucks. So I'm not worried about that. I can withstand that for the next 30 minutes. But what that does is give me a decent entry right here. So if we do break that 650, it's going to be a great, it would have been a really solid entry. But we could pull back a little bit more before we do bounce, but took a 651 call for 24 cents there. Just because it's cheap, and I want to lean into the trend here, into the end of the day, end of month, end of quarter. I'm leaning into the trend here. If I'm wrong, then take a small loss and move on. That's the goal, though, is to reduce the risk by taking a small position. Lean into the trend, see how it goes. If we do break 650, then this trade will ideally have been a really solid entry right there around that small pullback. We have a couple pullbacks into the 9, into the 21, then the 9. And this is a secondary retest of the 9 EMA right at the previous high of day after those other retests. So this is confirmation overload, I would like to say, but it's not guaranteed. But there is like multiple levels of confirmation, at least in terms of holding above the previous high here, but we need some momentum to break that new high day, and which will be right at 650. Wow. SOXL. SOXL semiconductors leveraged ETF is at the top of my list today, up 18%. That's crazy. The semiconductors are really having a big day. The whole sector's up about 6%. 3x leverage is up 18%. All right, contracts down $3. It's pretty much nothing. We just need to see if we can actually break the high day here. If not, then we either break the high day and we get the move, it's confirmed here, or we break below the 21 and then we end up bouncing out. But I just doubt that we're going to get a massive sell-off into the close. Maybe the last 10 minutes, but that's 20 minutes from now. Look at that, 650 almost. Contracts up $8. Not too bad. I got to put my finger on the trigger so I could. I'm not really looking to hold this a super long time today, even though like it's a good entry. Just like yesterday, I missed a bigger trade, but I'm looking to do the same kind of thing while looking to capture a small part of the move. Call it a day, especially since we have all this volatility. Contracts up about $10. We're still not even above 650, so let's see the break of 650 right here with volume. That's going to be really nice. Over 650, and going to be looking for an exit on this trade. Still not over 650. Let's see it. It's coming in. I see it. It's a nice candle right here on the 1-minute chart. In that 5-minute candle, we close above 650. That'll be good, but we got 3 minutes on that 5-minute. Plenty of time. Back to break even here. It is what it is. We need a break over 650 for this to be profitable. We need a solid break over 650 here coming in. I mean, we touched it there, but that's the thing. We need to get above it with this some momentum here. Let's see some volume come into the market here. 30 minutes till close. Let's see it. Where's the volume? Let's see. We need some volume. Let's see the volume. I want to see some volume. We made a new high day twice there, but without really volume. Not really making a big move yet. Still looking for the 650 break. That's what we want. Still break even on the 651 call. 651 call. Break even at 24, 25 cents here. We need to break 650 clean right here. And this trade will be solid. This is that level. This is that level though. 650 levels pretty big, pretty important. So at least until we get above it, until we just jump above it here. We kind of tested it, so it's pretty reasonable that we can get above it now. It's not like there's a big sell wall at that level. We kind of tapped it and didn't really do too much. Not much of an effect. So we're good. There it is. I see 99. See 99, 650. Okay, look at that. Contract's not doing much though. We need a little bit bigger move. We need to actually get above 650 here. Let's see it. $650.10. All right, that's pretty good. We're not there yet. We need to move a little bit. Contract's barely moving, honestly. The closer we get to 651, then this contract should do. We should pick up a bit, but probably gonna get out as we get closer there. If we can get some momentum right here, a little bit of volume coming in as we're breaking above 650. See if we can really get a decent move above. Like 650.50 would be cool. A little bit of a move. 650.20. Okay, a little bit of momentum. Let's see, not much yet. Want to see that spike. Okay, 30. Contract's up like 15 bucks. We get over 650.50. I'll probably look to get out. Just to call it a day, because it's getting close to the close. Almost 20 minutes till close. Over 650.50 would be ideal. Getting a breakout. See some volume coming in here with a little bigger move right here. Come on, let's go. Lean into the trend. I'm telling you. $650.50. I'm gonna go ahead and get out of this. We can get that right here. 650. What do we got? 38. All right, let's see. Contract's up almost 20 bucks. It's not a ton, but pretty solid, honestly, for where I'm at with this small trade. It's honestly like almost 100%. So let's see if we can hit that right here. 650.50. Not 100%. I don't care about that. I'm just looking for a little bit of that momentum here. When we're getting it, but we're getting it. Let's see some momentum right here. Come on. Starts to stall out. Now we're good. Come on. 650.50, and I'm going to go ahead and get out here. Come on now. Gotta let it do what it's going to do. 10 cents off. Looks pretty good, actually. Volume is increasing slightly on the 1 minute. Well, kind of. On the breakout, just a little bit. It's enough to notice it. All right, come on. Break through 650.50. I'm going to go ahead and get out here. Let me see that on the chart. Chart's working right. It's trying. Need a little push right here. Little push right here. 55, 56. Okay. I'm getting out right there. It is what it is. Take a $23 profit. $23 profit on that. Contract's up to 50 bucks now. From 24 to 47. Contract's at 43 now. So not a bad exit. Right at 650.50, which is pretty much what I'm looking for. Got that. The account is now up to $135.17. $23 profit today on the SPY 651 call. From $24 entry at 3:27 Eastern. 12-minute trade, exit at 47 cents. It's really good. The entry was like right here. Or no, 27. I took the entry right off of this red candle. This little slight pullback right here to, we made a high, retested this level, made a new high, retested that previous high, and that was just my entry as well as here. But the 650 level is just at risk, which is, I think it's right here, but there's another level that we had rejected, which is not this. But that was a solid move there. Literally just from this candle to here. Just this little bit of a breakout. That's all we caught. It was really just from right here, supported the previous high day, entered right here, catch the bounce into the close, or into the last part of power hour. Solid trade. $23 profit, which is actually probably the biggest trade of the week. Trades kind of small, but made like $6 and then 14 bucks yesterday, I think, and today 23. Pretty good. Contracts back down to 34 though, even though we're still over 60 or 650. Contracts back down to only $10 in profit, from 24 cents to 34. Definitely wouldn't hold it here because ideally we would have got a move just straight to 651 right here, or this level. And we kind of did, but it would have been nice if we can get a move a little bit higher, but it was a small move. We still caught it. Still caught it. I gotta go get my phone charger. One sec. Can't get my phone to charge for some reason. I don't know what's going on. Phone doesn't want to charge. Really? What? That's weird. Oh, my phone is tripping. What? I can't get my phone to charge. Back under 650. No, my phone is weird. It's like it's charging, but it only shows that it's charging on the control center. But when I go to the regular screen, the home screen, it doesn't show that it's charging. But when I swipe down the control center, it shows that it's charging. That is just weird. Yeah, that's. Anyway, so that is weird. I've never seen that. Like it's actually charging, but only on the control center does it show that it's charging. On anywhere else, it doesn't. It doesn't show it. Anyways, I'm not gonna worry about that. But the problem is, I need to post about this trade I just took right after the close. I gotta make a quick post about it. Pretty good week so far, honestly. This is a good one. The trade yesterday was the best though. Today, this entry was like all right. I think this entry would have been better for sure. This entry would have been a little bit more ballsy because we didn't have this confirmation. This is the confirmation that I used for my entry here, really. But this would have been like almost no confirmation, just first retest to this level. And then we did make a bigger move, but we had this to contend with. We had 650 to contend with. I'm grateful we got that move above. Was enough for me. Really got to be careful not to look for too much on these trades. That's one thing I had problems with in the past, is taking a trade, getting too confident, and then just holding it to break even in red. And just I can't do that here. That's just not something I can do. It's not. I'm not allowed to do that. How do I move? I don't know why I can't move this up or down. There we go. The decision. Bringing it back. I gotta pull it up over here though. I can't really see it. Just want to go through this again really quick. So the decision. The decision itself, not the psychology that precedes it, not the strategy that frames it, the actual moment of commitment, the gap between knowing and doing, between analysis and action, between the plan made in clarity and execution demanded under pressure. Everything you have learned, studied, and prepared, every framework built in calm, every rule written in discipline, every thesis stress tested in the quiet hours before the market opens, all of it arrives eventually at a single point, a moment, a cursor blinking, or I would say a candle. But, anyways, a hand that must move. That is the decision, and it is where most people discover, often too late, that preparation and execution are not the same thing. The knowledge held is not knowledge deployed. The version of yourself who built the plan and the version of yourself who must now execute it are under pressure in two very different people. The gap between them is not a flaw. It is the most honest thing about you. And it's what you actually need to learn and need to understand is really more about yourself than about the markets or about the candles at the end of the day. And that's what you learn with experience in trading. It's also the most expensive thing about you if you leave it unexamined and you continuously make the same mistakes. The brain that built your plan is not the brain that executes it. Knowing which one is in control at any given moment, that's the game. Look at, we're almost at 651. That's beautiful. In the absence of pressure, the mind is remarkably capable. It can construct sound arguments, weigh probabilities, identify risk, and arrive at well-reasoned conclusions. This is the mind you use to build your strategy. But pressure of capital, actual capital at stake, real-time price movement, position already in loss, or a setup already forming. It activates a different system entirely, one that is older, faster, far less interested in your carefully obstructed thesis or probabilities or confirmations. Neuroscience is instructive here. The prefrontal cortex, the seat of planning, reasoning, and long-term decision-making, is highly sensitive to stress and anxiety. Under acute pressure, the amygdala asserts dominance, the threat detection system wired for the speed and survival, not for probabilistic accuracy. The result is decisions that feel rational, but are actually emotional, dressed in the language of logic, driven by the machinery of fear. This is not a character defect, it is biology. But unlike markets, biology can be trained. The execution gap is not permanent. It is the distance between where your preparation currently ends and where the pressure begins. Shrink the gap by extending the preparation, not with more analysis, but with more honest rehearsal of the moment itself. Pressure as a filter, not a distortion. Look at that, the contract in the money, 651 call would be now in the money. Boom. Anyways, most traders experience pressure as interference, a force that disrupts clear thinking and produces errors. This framing is understandable, but it is incomplete. Pressure is not primarily distortion. It is primarily a filter. What it removes is not your capability. What it removes is everything about your preparation that was never fully real. Pressure does not build character, it reveals it. And in markets, what it reveals has a price attached. This reframe is not meant to be harsh, it is meant to be useful. Because you once understand that pressure is a diagnostic rather than an enemy, you stop trying to eliminate it and start using it. Every moment of execution, difficulty is information about where your preparation is shallow. Every freeze, every impulsive exit, every trade taken outside of your plan, these are not failures of discipline, they're data points. They tell you exactly where to do the next round of work. One thing that I like to say is to improve upon everything you've ever done. And it's like a recursive way of developing everything that you've experienced in your observations in life. Wow, we got a pretty good rejection there. Okay, so traders who perform best under pressure are not those who feel less. They feel the same fear, the same urgency, the same pull toward relief. What differs is their relationship to those feelings they have learned through repetition, through honest postmortem, through deliberate exposure to act from their plan rather than their nervous system. Not by suppressing the signal, but by no longer being governed by it. Two failure modes, one root, and hesitation. The setup forms exactly as anticipated. The criteria are met. The risk parameters are defined, and yet nothing. The hand doesn't move. The analysis deepens, not because more information is needed, but because the mind, faced with irreversibility of commitment, retreats into the safety of reconsideration. Happens a lot. The moment passes, the trade that was correct moves without you. And the emotion that follows, the particular anguish of a missed opportunity executed perfectly in hindsight, which is always perfectly executed in hindsight, is somehow worse than the loss itself would have been. And that's the hard truth, is that having the confidence in the system to take the right entry when it presents itself with no hesitation. In taking the loss based on that correct plan and strategy execution is always going to be a better outcome in the long term in terms of growing your account than it would be to just miss it and to refuse to learn how to change that and how to use the data points to your advantage. Every trade doesn't open you up to an endless loss. Every trade doesn't open you up to failure. It only does if you allow it to. It only does if you decide that's part of the outcome potential. So it's a choice you have to make based on how you behave and what you trade or what you act upon, and the consistency of what you act upon, following the same setups every time, going with the trend, not fighting the trend like we did today, leaning into the trend. Most of the time it works. Even if you take a late entry, even if the risk reward is slightly off, there's other ways of going about skewing those ratios and fixing that. And on to the next impulse. The opposite failure is equally common and equally destructive. A loss triggers the need to recover it. A win triggers the need to extend it. The plan is intact, the rules are known, and then a trade is taken outside both, justified in real time with reasoning that sounds sound, but is actually the voice of emotion seeking resolution. Impulse trades are rarely random. They are narratively coherent. They feel like decisions. This is what makes them so dangerous. They wear the mask of discipline while dismantling it. Hesitation and impulse appear to be opposites. One too slow, one too fast, but trace either back to its source and you arrive at the same place. The inability to tolerate the specific discomfort that a decision requires. Hesitation avoids the discomfort of being wrong about a committed position. Impulse avoids the discomfort of sitting with an open loss or with the energy of a one trade not yet pressed. Both are the mind choosing emotional relief over strategic fidelity. Both cost the same thing in the end, the returns that a well-executed plan would have produced. Every trade taken outside of the plan is an emotional transaction disguised as a financial one. A financial decision is made with careful planning and execution and complete and total understanding of the risk parameters and the outcome potentials. When an emotional transaction is just the opposite, it's just fear, it's gambling. Gambling is purely emotional. Trading and investing properly, profitably, is a systematic, a personal choice, a financial choice. And commitment as a trained capacity. There we go. Commitment as a trained capacity. Decisiveness is not a personality trait. It is a trained capacity, developed through repetition, refined through reflection, and sustained through structural design. The belief that some people are simply natural decision makers, that commitment comes easily to certain minds and not to others, is both empirically weak and strategically disempowering. It locates the solution outside the self, in the territory of the unchosen. Decisiveness, like any other skill, is built. Commitment is not the moment of decision. It is the confirmation of a decision already made before the pressure arrived. This reframe changes everything about how you approach preparation. You are no longer trying to think clearly under pressure. You are trying to install decisions in advance so that pressure has nothing left to corrupt. The work is done before the market opens. The execution is mechanical. The judgment was yesterday. the 5 P's. I don't know if I could remember. What are the 5 P's? Planning, preparation, patience. I'm missing something. I need to, let me see if I can come up. Planning, preparation, patience. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look it up. I don't think I'm gonna be able to. I don't know why I can't come up with it. What are the 5 P's again, dog? 5 P's. Market's closing in 1 minute. Let's see if I can find it real quick. The 5 P's are patience, planning, proper planning, preparation prevents poor performance. There it is. Proper planning and preparation prevents poor performance. There we go. Irreversibility principle. One of the defining features of a decision under uncertainty is its irreversibility. Once capital is committed, the position exists. Once the order is placed, the clock starts. There is no draft version of a trade. No revision before it matters. This quality, the reversibility of commitment, is precisely what the hesitating mind is responding to, not the loss itself, but the finality, the closing of other options, the requirement to be accountable to this one. There's the market close. All right. I'm gonna finish this paper. I'm gonna finish that paper tomorrow. My phone is kind of overheating anyways. I can't really pull it up right now. My phone gets so hot and then it starts tripping at the end of the day. All right, well, that's the market close. Not bad. Made it up to 651.50. Kind of flattened out into the close. The VIX, big candle down to 25. That looks pretty promising. Bitcoin, there's pretty much nothing. Gold and silver up 7 and 3%. Looks pretty decent. This is not Brent. This is WTI crude. It's pretty, not really doing much. It's quite a bit different than Brent crude. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead, get the rest of my day going. I got some more things to do. Solid trade today. Trade actually went in the money, just like yesterday. That was beautiful, really good. 651 call, made over about 100%, I think. And then it probably went to 300% just based on it went in the money. I didn't double check. Let me look really quick. What was the high of the contract? I could double check. I don't know. It didn't even close there. I'm not going to really be able to see it. Anyways, well, the contract went totally crazy. Really solid trade. So I'll be back tomorrow. Maybe I'll try to be on in the morning tomorrow. I just didn't do it today because we got the gap up and then we got that news during lunch. That's crazy. So we'll see what happens overnight. If we gap back down into the range or if we continue this rally. See if there's any more news developments overnight. See what's really moving the market, because right now it's kind of uncertain still, even though we're up 2-3%. So have a great rest of the day. See you next time.